Welcome back to the Road to Infinity, where Alex and I are going through all the MCU films leading up to May 4th's Avengers Infinity War. Yeah, this is episode 5, in which we are talking about Captain America, the First Avenger.
Hooray.
Hey Alex, how you doing?
I'm goodly, sir. How are you?
Very goodly as well. Glad it's Friday for us.
Happy Friday.
This is a good way to end the week. Nerd talk.
Good way for me to start my week. My weeks start on Fridays. That's weird. I don't know.
Oh yeah, boo.
That's just how it is. But, no, everything's not round in the world, but everything's not flat. But, it's just one of those things that you live with it. But, yeah, my Sunday is your Friday.
Oh,
Enjoy that world.
I see.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's going to be a good week. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, you work in the land of Disney and magic and mice, and everything's
Mostly.
just joyful all day, right?
Mostly. Until someone drops their churro, and then we have to magically make a new churro appear with no dirt and stuff on it. But,
I did drop an ice cream. Like, I licked my ice cream, and the ice cream fell right on the ground, and, like, within seconds, a person ran up and said, "Here, I'll go get you another one."
Here, sir, please hold on a minute. Here's another ice cream. Please don't eat our heads. Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
It's pretty much how it goes most days. So, yeah.
Well, I know a person that doesn't lose their head, and that's Steve Rogers.
Yes.
How about that segue?
That's pretty good. I see what you did there, young man.
I am a captain of segues. So, Captain America, the First Avenger.
The first.
I never really got into the Captain of America comics. They're kind of dry, and he's so good that it's not interesting.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure how this movie would turn out. But let's go through the plot summary briefly.
Sure.
So it's 1941. Steve Rogers is a scrawny guy, but he's really passionate about doing what he can for his country during the war. So he keeps trying to enlist, and it's not happening. He's too scrawny, he's too sickly, until Dr. Erskine sees something within him, that he's a genuinely good, compassionate, empathetic person, and that he will be the right vessel for a super soldier serum that amplifies everything in your body, but also in your emotions and your mental state. Because he's already good, it's going to make him even better. So that's interesting. Steve becomes an honorary captain, kind of almost a figurehead for the war effort. The military is using him to get military bonds and to support these soldiers, but the soldiers just see him as a clown in a cheap costume, and that's really all he is. Until his friend Bucky Barnes gets captured by the Nazis, or is it Hydra? I forget.
I believe it is indeed the evil organization known as Hydra.
Okay, so he goes after them, saves them, and becomes kind of a legitimate military leader at this time, earning the moniker of Captain. And the rest of the movie, he's fighting the Red Skull, as the Red Skull's trying to tap into ultimate power with the Tesseract and create weapons of mass destruction. In the end, Steve has to thwart a plan to destroy the United States by crashing a plane into some icy waters, and he's left there to chill out for a couple decades. Oh, and there's a woman named Peggy Carter who they kind of have a thing going on, and I think she'll be important later on.
Maybe. Seems legit.
Shall we go into the segment where we talk about the things that we like?
Oh, yeah. I like that part.
Me too.
So, I'll start talking about the things that I like. And again, we continue to keep beating this broken horse into the ground. I feel like, and mixing metaphors with what I was about to say, but we keep beating the dead horse and such with saying it's just an all-star cast. It starts at the top with another Chris Evans.
The M.
I
Chris
say,
U.
yes, yeah. Thank you, sir. Sebastian Stan kind of is a new name that we can add to our lexicon of, oh yeah, I knew about him before he was in. No, you didn't know him before he was in Captain America. Maybe, but probably not.
Hey, look, young Luke Skywalker.
Don't do that. Don't cross don't cross streams.
They're on the same family now, sir.
Don't cross the streams, man.
Yes, Captain.
Yes.
Continue. What else do you like?
I definitely appreciate that you get some Tommy Lee Jones in there, which for a lot of the for our parents' age crowd is probably only recognizable name of the group aside from a Samuel L. Jackson, which you don't really know is there, but eventually you find out he's there, and yeah, ta-da! There's of course Shield, snubbing their nose in everything that has to do with saving the world and superhuman things.
They're the connective
but for
tissue
good.
that binds all these films up to this point, too.
That's true. You get the Americana that is 1942 and World War II, and everyone trying to do their part to fight the good fight. And Steve is caught up in that. And I think initially Chris Evans really connects with that, I feel like, as that blue-collar Boston guy he grew up as way back in his youth in the 80s and early 90s. So I think his portrayal of Captain America is like a definitive standalone definition of Captain America in my brain. I cannot think of anyone else when I hear the words Captain America, not the original comic book character, not any characters I may have seen in any video game iterations of Marvel versus Capcom. I think of Chris Evans. It's stuck in my brain in a good way.
And you're right. This is an interesting side effect of these Marvel movies going huge. The comic writers and the artists start changing the characters to match their on-screen presentation.
Right.
And so, like Tony Stark in the comics now, all of his dialogue is very quippy and snappy, just like Robert Downey Jr. And it wasn't always that way. Yeah, that character was that way, but not as much. Same with Cap now. So, because of money, I don't read a lot of comics anymore. But one that I do follow is the Captain America comic, and it's basically Chris Evans, and it's great. It's great.
He's so handsome. Sorry, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. And then a lot of the B and C list actors that appear throughout the film: Hugo Weaving as Red Skull, Stanley Tucci as Dr. Erskine, and it kind of goes on this wonderful list of folks who you've seen before, and you're like, oh, who is that guy? Oh, it's that guy. So I really enjoyed the compilation and the crew of actors that they assembled for this. And I apologize in advance, but the Peggy Atwell that they found,
Haley Atwell,
I like her, but she's British.
She's a little stiff.
In real life, she's British. How are you supposed to play an American character when you're British?
Well, she's not American in the movie either. She's British. She keeps her accent. And I feel like they explained that. I missed that this time around.
But she's got like this dual citizenship thing going.
Yeah.
And it's confusing. It's like, is she really wanting to be for Captain? Is she not? I'm confused.
Well, at the time, the British and the U.S. were allies. So, whatever. I'm good with it. And did you ever see the Peggy Carter, Agent Carter television show that was on ABC briefly?
No, I didn't. I kicked myself for missing out on that.
I watched most of the first season, and she was a lot more engaging of a character there. Because in this film, she's a little stolid, a little stiff. But we're here to talk about what we liked.
Oh, yes. I liked the majority of the actors in the film. They did good. Yes, they did well.
Very good. Extra credit.
For using proper grammar, I get points. Oh, good. I like that. That's good. So yeah, I enjoyed that. And then to see him go from the scrawny Steve to Super Steve, or Cap, was certainly a cool visual transformation.
And those visual effects of making him the scrawny Steve.
Yes.
Tying together these two different bodies
Right.
was pretty impressive.
It's CGI done right
Yeah.
and done well. I mean, when you see CGI, it's obviously something you cannot see normally. But if you were not really trained to see something like that, you would think, oh, wow, they really made Chris bulk down and and have hunger strikes for 7 to 8 months before taking on the early Steve role. And then they're like, oh my gosh, they must have put him on P90X. What the heck did they do to him when they put him
And
in
then they
Captain
waited another
America's
7
costume?
months for him to bulk up again.
Right. So that was very cool. Again, to the untrained eye, that's a work of cinematic movie magic. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I don't know. These words, they're so hard.
Well, things that I liked, I loved that we finally got a different hero in the Marvel Universe.
Yes.
So, Tony Stark, he was arrogant and had to be humbled, and then he chose to be a hero as a result of being humbled. Thor, he was arrogant and had to be humbled, and chose to be a hero as a result of being humbled. Bruce Banner was arrogant about his serum for the gamma radiation, and by taking it, he was humbled, and now has to, struggle with this power and rage inside of him. But with not Chris Evans, with Steve Rogers, he is humble.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that humility, he is freed and unlocked and empowered to be heroic. And someone recognizes him as someone that is just a hero in waiting. So I like that kind of message, that theme that explores, and that we don't have just carbon copies of the arrogant to the humble to the hero.
Right.
Kind of cool.
It is. It's a departure from what we had seen in the previous Marvel cinematic iterations, as you mentioned, with not one but two visions of Iron Man, the introduction of Hulk and Bruce Banner, as you mentioned, also Thor, who isn't worthy of Odin's crown because of his lack of humility. So yeah, it is a more humbling human side and someone we can all look to and be like, yes, I want to be like Captain America. And that's kind of one of the enriching characteristics of Captain America from way back in the comic book days. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I want to be like Captain America, all American, do the right thing, always.
And the thing is with Steve Rogers, he's already heroic before he gets a super soldier serum. So as a little boy, you could be like, I can be like him in the way I choose to live my life. And I didn't read Captain America when I was a little kid, so it's not like that was a foundational character, but I could see that being. And especially, if I have a boy someday, maybe I'm going to show him this movie.
Right.
The other thing I love about this film, Cap's shield. It's like Indiana Jones' hat. Like, they're like inseparable. And I love the way it physically moves through the world. It's impossibly physical, in physics, for it to bounce everywhere and then ricochet back to him. But it's really fun to watch and a unique trait. And he's super strong and athletic, but he's not shooting lasers or lightning. It's a different kind of physical hero.
Right. This is true. So, again, one of the more worthy films, I think, of our shelves. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. Are we ready to shelf this thing?
In a good way.
All right.
I am going to start by saying this is... See, I can't... I don't know why I can't put it on my top shelf. But it was good. It was very good. It just wasn't great and amazing and definitive because I feel like he is one of a whole. He is part of a whole. He is that sort of, he does well on his own, but he needs others around him. And
he's better when he's the leader of the Avengers.
Yes.
Okay,
because that's what it is. So
yeah. That makes sense to me.
I think this is a second shelf movie, but it could easily find its way to the top shelf if it wasn't for other things in its way.
I agree with you. Second shelf. I think what keeps it from being a top shelf item is, another trend that I've noticed. Now, Captain America doesn't Captain America doesn't get rid of this trend that I've seen in the Marvel movies, that we
Mhm.
always have to have every male hero must have a relationship interest. Just has to happen.
Yeah.
And the only one that really works so far is Pepper and Tony. The other
Yeah,
ones, like,
works is certainly a flexible word that you could say, but they function. Yes.
yeah, and they spend 2 movies to build that relationship, and they don't kiss until the second one at the end. Tony
Oh,
and
that's such a
Pepper.
good kiss.
It's pretty good. Except Rhodey's just sitting there watching, a little creeper.
Yeah,
But,
that's a little weird.
but
Yeah,
with
because
with Thor and Jane, no chemistry. It wasn't believable. And then Peggy and Steve, it was a little more believable, but it wasn't developed, and
Right.
whatever. It was fine. It wasn't bad, but it didn't need to be there. The other thing is the cartoonish villain. It's fine. He was more interesting. The Red Skull was more interesting than the other ones we've gotten so far, except for
True.
Loki. But I don't know. The overall package, it just doesn't. I don't rewatch this movie a lot, so I think that's one of the requirements on my as I deliberate.
Right. And I tried rewatching it at some point in preparation for this, and I'm not sure if it's because I started at 9:30 at night, or if it's because I'm getting old, or if it's because of both, or if it's because it's not one that during the early build-up holds my attention and keeps me visibly there nowadays, compared to other movies that just dive right in with action sequences and such.
Yeah, you were talking off mic that it was kind of a slow beginning with the whole recruitment stuff.
Yes, a
and
slow build.
I enjoyed
Yes.
that. I enjoy the whole movie. I really wish we get to see Red Skull again, because it kind of left it open for him to return, because he was
That's true.
zapped up, beamed up by the Tesseract. And who knows, maybe he will in Avengers of Infinity War. But I don't think Hugo Weaving wants to return to the role.
Probably not. But yeah, it's just something that we maybe can look forward to with other films. So yeah, I say second shelf, you say second shelf. Is
I
that what
do.
we're in agreement on?
So
Cool.
far, we haven't diverged.
Well, great minds think alike, my friend.
There we go. All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this next pit stop on the road to infinity. And join us next week for The Avengers.
If you want to provide a shelving of your own, you can find us on our Facebooks at Completing the Shelf. You can find us on the Twitterverse at Shelf Nerds for Chris and at _Salvo. At Alex_Salvo for myself. I forgot I had a name. You told me my name, but I forgot my name.
Well,
That's
you
how-
thought it was going to be Chris
getting
now.
old.
Like, you're going to just take up the name Chris?
That I dream of being a Chris. It's this Marvel Chris universe that we just live in, and
That's
we just have
right.
to.
I should get a T-shirt that says the Marvel Chris Universe. I really need to get one of those. I'm going to be that arrogant hero that needs to be humbled, I think, after we talk about all these Chris's.
I'm gonna get you a Marvel Chris universe, but put the Captain America logo behind it, so it's like it screws with people's minds. It'll be fun.
There you go.
There. I think I'm gonna have a coherent thought maybe next week when we talk about the Avengers. But until then, we will see you on the road to the Infinity War.